Well, two separate polls released today reveal the coalition has extended its lead over Labor. Joining me now is Nationals leader David Littleproud. Good morning to you. You've got to be confident with these numbers today. Is it enough to get majority government?
Oh, no, look, I wouldn't take too much out of these polls. The significant variance in these polls demonstrate that it's not an exact science. And there's a lot of work to do. There's a big mountain to climb for the coalition. To get majority government, which is what this country needs, we've still got a long way to go. There's a pathway, and I think Australians are asking themselves, do they feel safer and do they feel better off after 3 years of Anthony Albanese? And I think that'll continue to heighten in their minds as we get closer to an election when it's called. But I don't think it's anything that we can hang our hat on at the moment. But we have been consistent, very disciplined in our message about solving the cost of living crisis and keeping you safe and living up to the principles and values that the Australian people would expect. But obviously, we're just going to have to focus on the Australian people rather than polls between now and election day.
Yeah, I mean, and polls can change and the numbers can fluctuate. But you mentioned there that the coalition still has a lot of work to do. What is that?
Well, I think we've got to continue to articulate how we're going to tackle the cost of living crisis that Australians are feeling in the here and now. And that's simple. That's about drilling our way out of it. We've got to get a whole lot of gas into the grid quickly. That's the only way that we can get your energy bill down in the near term. Long term is obviously nuclear, but obviously the only way to bring your energy bill down and your food bill is to get gas supply in, and that'll bring down your food bill. Your food bill's 2-3 times more what it was 3 years ago because food processors are paying so much for their energy. And we've got to have a sensible housing policy that not just bans foreigners with competing with you on a Saturday at an auction, but also goes to put some time limits on the money that the federal government puts out. The government isn't going to spend for all the tens of billions they've floated out there. They're not going to build one new home since they've been elected. What we've said is that we'll help developers and local councils with that last mile of infrastructure, but we put a time limit on it. We've said you've got 12 months to use it or lose it. Otherwise, we put it to somebody that can do something about increasing supply. And putting a pause on this madness around construction code, a 7-star construction code that's added $60,000 to the construction of a home, put it out of the reach of young Australians. We're not just going to pause it for 10 years. We're going to go line by line, and what sensibly can be taken out, we'll review and remove it to try and reduce costs. We just got to get back to basics, and that's what we've got to articulate, is to bring down in the here and now is gas and more gas, and a sensible housing policy that puts time limits on movement and getting states and local governments going with a sensible migration policy to bring in the people we need to build these homes, not dog groomers and martial arts instructors that this government's prioritised.
OK, there'll be a few key issues over the next month or so. I want to get your thoughts on the Medicare announcement. I mean, the Health Minister says the Medicare mess was created by Peter Dutton. Some are going to argue that Peter Dutton can't be trusted on health. What's your response to that?
Well, look at the numbers and look at the lived experience of what Australians are feeling at the moment. When we were in government, the bulk billing rate was at 88%. When Peter Dutton 10 years ago was Health Minister, he had it at 84%. Mark Butler and Anthony Albanese has got it down to 77% and declining rapidly. They've ignored general practice and unfortunately we're paying the price for that. So while we've said that we support the quantum of money, what we've got to make sure is that quantum of money goes into quality care, not quick care, and we need to listen to particularly doctor groups about how we make sure that happens. But they've also forgotten about mental health. There's no announcement about mental health. This is all about a political fix because they see that health is becoming a drag on them politically, that they had to do something about bulk billing rates. But they've, in their expediency to try and get some political points, they've forgotten about mental health. And we've said from the very start we're prepared to put $500 million in to those 20 supported mental health sessions to make sure that we bring that to the fore. We've got a sensible health policy, one that actually goes to the heart of solving this. And unfortunately, this government's all about political fix of a problem that they've created over 3 years, despite being Medicare's best friend, apparently.
OK, you're in Bundaberg in the seat of Hinkler. I mean, there's a new LNP candidate for Hinkler there, David Batt, of course, after the retirement of Keith Pitt. But also as well, I mean, GPs and the health issue is so crucial there in rural and regional Australia, like the area where you are today.
Yeah, and mental health in particular. When you hear, in fact, there's a Salvation Army a report just out today that says that mental health is one of the biggest issues in Hinkler, and yet the Albanese government hasn't put an extra cent into it. We actually need the people on the ground. We need those sessions and telehealth to be able to undertake those for people in the regions. So David Batt was a local councillor, a local policeman and a local state member that understands what's happening in this community. So we're not taking this for granted. It's going to be a tough fight for us, but David Batt is someone that has that experience and has a plan in not only in terms of infrastructure, Paradise Dam and the Bruce Highway, but mental health, the real things that are really concerning people here in Bundaberg and Hervey Bay.
Okay, David Littleproud, we'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you as always. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.